Artificial intelligence is the hot technology of 2023. Now experts are trying to figure out if it will reshape our world like social media, or if it's destined to flame out like so many other promising innovations.
The computing power that we now have at our fingertips has really upped the game.
This week on The Race, the impact of AI in our everyday life, from the workplace to our homes.
When you give young people that kind of technology, that could ruin their life, somebody else's life very, very fast.
So each week I get the notification from my phone that tells me my average screen time per day, and it is difficult sometimes to realize just how many hours I spend each day staring at my phone. The truth is, what we read on our computers, our cell phones, whatever screen you may look at during the day, really dictates how we see the world and our perception of the reality around us. And there's new technology that's making it more difficult to actually trust what we see on our screens, and it's having an impact on the world around us far beyond the internet. How easy is it to create a deepfake?
There's this site called Fake You, and this is text to speech. And so you can choose then a number of different people. What would you like?
What's the day of the week is it? What's it, Thursday? You say today is Thursday and the sun's outside. In all of about 5 minutes, computer science professor Steve Beatty created an audio recording that sounded like former President Donald Trump.
Give this a go.
Today is Thursday and it's sunny outside.
It's an example of a deepfake, audio or video that's been created or doctored by artificial intelligence to, in this case, sound like a political figure. What's new about it now?
I think it's more accessible and more easy to use.
Photo editing programs have been around for years, but Beatty says artificial intelligence, which can learn how a person moves and speaks, is making it more believable than ever.
AI certainly is going to help with making the images better. And so it's not just a simple slap on the front. It's going to be as people turn, they speak, their eyes move, these sorts of things. The AI is going to help to make that look more natural.
The website he used to make the audio recording of former President Trump is free online. You could also call someone if you had bad intentions.
Oh, absolutely.
That site is not the only one making it easy to create a deepfake. Another one let him put my colleague's words in the mouth of Queen Elizabeth.
The availability of it, having it on your smartphone very, very easily is new, right? It used to take a massive production studio and time and money and weeks to kind of create a really authentic looking deepfake.
I spoke with Democratic Minnesota State Senator Erin May Quaid. On Friday, Minnesota's governor signed the bill she authored into law, making the sharing of non-consensual pornographic deepfake images and deepfakes that are shared to influence the political process within 90 days of an election a criminal act. Those who do could now face a $10,000 fine or up to 5 years in prison. The language in her bill is specific. The image needs to be realistic enough for it to be widely believed to be true.
For example, if I made a deepfake of our governor with his face superimposed with our former governor, Jesse the Body Ventura, doing like a body slam at a WWE, I think people would know that that didn't happen, right? That's not the kind of deepfake we're trying to regulate.
Other states, including Texas and Virginia, have laws regulating deepfake images. Lawmakers at the federal level are trying to figure out a future with deepfakes too.
Too often, we have seen what happens when technology outpaces regulation.
This month, Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal played a deepfake of his voice written by ChatGPT at a congressional hearing on artificial intelligence.
The real threat, the real problem is still that the sort of propaganda side of everything, the intent behind all that sort of stuff.
Few people know how to spot deepfakes better than Cole Whitecotton. He works for the National Center for Media Forensics at the University of Colorado, Denver. The group helps organizations like the FBI to identify altered images. He understands the concern about deepfakes, but wants to add some context.
When Photoshop came out, that nobody could ever trust another photo again, and every digital photo ever could be completely manipulated.
It's best to have more than one source. And so if it's one video on one site, check it.
The conversations around AI regulation aren't expected to be over anytime soon, and congressional committees say they are expecting to hold more hearings in the future. However, there are some more urgent matters that need to be looked at, from courtrooms to art galleries. We'll dive into the impact that AI is having in those places next on The Race. AI-generated photorealistic images are now nearly impossible to differentiate from the real thing. This image is one example. It was created by AI. Is it art? Is it stealing? And should it be illegal? Let's look at one example. Say we want a graphic of a dog riding a skateboard in space. In the past, you'd either draw it yourself or make a digital collage. With AI generative services, we just type in the prompt, "a dog riding a skateboard in space." The image is created in seconds. AI services are trained with data to understand what things are. We may automatically know this image is an apple, but a machine sees it as just data. They use alt tags to learn what characteristics an apple has. First, the machine learns the color, red, but that's not enough. It learns as many characteristics as possible from every apple it scans until eventually it can tell the difference between a red apple and, say, a red ball. But this learning is an issue by itself. It's not clear what images these AI programs are learning from, but in some cases they appear to have learned from copyrighted work. It's a new legal gray area. Companies argue it's the same as a person studying famous artists and learning from them. Another issue is bias. Think of it this way. If a system is trained on green cubes only, it probably won't generate a purple one. In one study of AI-generated images, the data set contained content that was racist, misogynistic, and otherwise biased. There's also misinformation. This is a fake image of the Pope. Plenty of people were fooled. Actress Chrissy Teigen tweeted she, quote, "didn't give it a second thought." And just this week, a possible AI-generated image of an explosion at the Pentagon went viral. Before it was proven to be fake, it caused the stock market to drop dramatically. AI-generative services provided a tool to visualize something quickly, but the technology is advancing faster than the creation of any guardrails, safeguards that could prevent issues related to copyright, bias, job loss, or misinformation. With a presidential election around the corner, it's an issue that may need to be taken more seriously. There are several legal gray areas when it comes to artificial intelligence, and some of them include the legal system itself, like if AI can replace the job of an attorney.
This new iPhone with facial recognition.
ChatGPT. As artificial intelligence continues to transform our everyday lives, there's a new race underway to harness the power of AI in the courtroom. At the cutting edge of that movement is Joshua Browder, the CEO of a startup called Do Not Pay. He says he's on a mission to create the world's first AI-powered attorney.
The legal industry is David versus Goliath. Unfortunately, it's pay to play, so the people with the most money typically win in court cases, but software can level the playing field.
Do Not Pay made a product that catches illegal spam callers and gets them to pay you.
At a fraction of the cost of a human lawyer, Browder says he is able to use his software to help everyday Americans battle legal issues, such as traffic tickets and evictions. So far, he says his company has helped in more than 1.5 million cases and saved his clients millions of dollars.
So we're going to sue a company at the press of a button.
To show us how his technology works, Browder entered a hypothetical case on his Do Not Pay website of a client who was looking for an attorney to help them get reimbursed for a canceled flight.
So the robot wants to gather as much evidence to make your case as strong as possible. So it asks things like dates or photographs.
We wait about 30 seconds, and then it generates a legal demand letter.
So just like that, it mentions all of the laws of the local state.
The system then automatically sends the letter to the airline. For now, Do Not Pay can generate legal letters, lawsuits, and other routine court documents. But Browder says this is just the beginning. For the past year, Browder had been planning to take the technology one step further, using AI to represent a client in the courtroom for the first time in history.
They're going to put on AirPods and the AI will be whispering in their ear. It will listen to the court hearing, process what's going on, and then whisper very quickly back what to say.
But his plan sparked backlash from lawyers across the country, including this class action complaint in San Francisco that argued Do Not Pay is not actually a robot, a lawyer, nor a law firm. Do Not Pay does not have a law degree, is not barred in any jurisdiction, and is not supervised by any lawyer. And because of that, the complaint contends, it's illegal to use in a courtroom. Browder says that opposition has forced him to postpone his plans for now.
I think lawyers are very scared. AI will replace a lot of lawyers, and we're on the side of the people, not the side of the lawyers, and the people need legal help for free or very cheaply.
Georgetown Law School professor Tanina Rothstein told us access to legal help is a problem faced by millions of Americans nationwide.
92% of people living in the United States either get no legal help or inadequate legal help with their legal problems. It's an incredible crisis.
Rothstein researches ways technology can be used to change that. She told us AI can help solve the crisis, but says it should never be allowed to completely replace a lawyer.
Technology is helpful, but I think we need lawyers to be the subject matter experts to make sure that whatever the system is producing reflects what the law is.
Wouldn't having an AI lawyer be better than not having a lawyer at all?
Absolutely. With a caveat, which is that we do need quality control. I think we have to test it, we have to try it, we have to see what kind of errors it makes.
So who would be held accountable if an AI made a mistake that could qualify as malpractice?
Well, so that's the big question. That's where we have to think about how do we regulate it. So if it makes mistakes, you stop it from continuing and people can get their money back or can, get some form of redress.
Without any oversight, Rothstein worries that AI legal companies could be driven by profit, not the interests of clients. Do Not Pay's own terms of service state any communications between you and Do Not Pay may not be protected under the attorney-client privilege doctrine, and that it can share users' data with third-party companies. Rothstein says that practice could be especially harmful to legal clients who are already vulnerable and could be targeted by predatory companies.
So you don't want their data to be used for other purposes. You don't want their data to be exploited.
Joshua Browder told us his focus for now is on improving AI's capacity so it can be a more reliable resource for people who need legal help.
The biggest challenge we've had is the AI makes things up. So we've had to tell the AI, stick to the facts. AI is really good at doing lots of things, but you have to train it.
Next on the race, the debate over AI's place in medicine. Large companies are already hyping AI's ability to change medicine, and there are some examples of success, but there is also criticism. In a recent study, hospital officials were given the chance to provide anonymous feedback about AI. One pointed out redundancy, saying the current AI is just duplicating tasks that doctors already do, like taking and reading x-rays. Another said there needs to be, quote, some infrastructure for defining what we mean by this algorithm works and assessing whether it works as well for Group A versus Group B. But most did agree the technology shows promise for several uses, from the small ones to even bigger jobs like cancer detection.
Lung cancer is the deadliest cancer in the world, but I'm going to show you how artificial intelligence is helping to detect and treat the disease in ways never seen before. It is often inside some of the most unassuming buildings where some of the most life-changing breakthroughs happen.
There isn't any cancer here at this point.
This is Peter McHale. He's a researcher at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
So these are slices of someone's chest, going from like their shoulders down to their abdomen.
And what he's showing me are CT scans of a person's lungs taken years ago.
That region right there, that's actually diagnosed cancer.
See that collection of red dots? That is an area of this lung that will become cancer.
It's actually predicting that 3 years later, this person is going to get cancer.
How does Peter know that? Thanks to a new way of using artificial intelligence to detect early signs of future lung cancer that doctors can't see.
I don't tell the machine that this is what it needs to look for. It's supposed to learn what to look for.
The team here decided to name their new AI program Sybil, after the ancient Greek oracles, who in mythology can see into the future, which is in large part what they're trying to do here.
Today, the clinicians are trained to give the judgment what they see on the image, which is whether the patient does have cancer today or not. While what we are trying to do, not looking ahead.
Regina Barzilay is one of the lead researchers on the project.
AI in healthcare is maybe one of the most underutilized areas of application of AI.
Currently, the CDC recommends adults at risk for lung cancer get CT scans each year. But even with regular screenings, radiologists can't spot everything. Sybil, though, can see what humans can't.
So she's looking at like very minute patterns that are already there.
That are already there, yeah.
Sybil is looking at millions of tiny pixels, trying to spot patterns that in this case show the possibility of lung cancer developing 3 to 6 years before cancer shows up in a traditional screening.
What Sybil tries to do is actually to look many years ahead and say how likely that this patient will develop cancer.
Regina and her team don't see Sybil as replacing doctors or radiologists. Instead, they view her as another tool that can be used to help doctors develop more specialized treatment for an individual's cancer. Large-scale clinical deployment of Sybil is still years away, but with hundreds of thousands of Americans being diagnosed with lung cancer each year, artificial intelligence could someday be a game changer.
Do you see this saving lives at some point?
I absolutely believe that it is, whenever it will be deployed in large scale, it will save lives.
Artificial intelligence is also being used to preserve some of history's most important stories, including those of Holocaust survivors. Next, an experience that you won't find in the history books.
Technology is changing the ways we interact with history. At the Shoah Foundation here at the University of Southern California, they are using it to be able to listen to firsthand accounts of the Holocaust. And I can tell you from experiencing this myself, it's a whole different way of learning and engaging with the past. Hi, Pinter, how are you?
Reasonably well.
It's apparent that Pintus Gunter is not actually in front of me. In fact, the recordings we are interacting with were filmed back in 2014.
During the Holocaust, I first lived for the first couple of months after the war started in my hometown in Łódź.
But I can tell you from listening to him for about 20 minutes, Gunter's story of how he survived the Holocaust as a teenager stuck with me in a way few stories have after reading about them in history books.
My parents, my mother, my father, and my sister, my twin sister, they were murdered the same day when we arrived at the death camp and concentration camp Majdanek. But after the war, I found that out of over 150 family members, extended ones, 4 cousins remained alive.
Among Jews who survived the Holocaust, Gunter's story is sadly not unique, and this current generation is the last one that will get to hear it firsthand.
We have a moral obligation to capture the memory of these survivors so that they can be used to build awareness and understanding for future generations.
Rob Williams is the executive director of the USC Shoah Foundation, which has spent the last 10 years recording 63 interactive biographies such as Pintus's, so visitors to Holocaust museums across the country and world can learn of the atrocities of the Holocaust differently and more personally.
I became a very closed-in person, where before the war, I was a very bubbly, open person.
According to the Claims Conference, a nonprofit that seeks reparations for the Holocaust, there are just over 400,000 Holocaust survivors left, and estimates show most will die by the year 2035.
They're going to relive the most traumatic memories of their life. It's not an easy process for them. You can see it in their eyes as they go back.
Ryan Fenton Strauss is the director of media and archives for the foundation and has helped incorporate artificial intelligence into the program.
Where did you grow up?
Through the technology, people can ask questions of these survivors, even after they have died, and the technology will allow the survivors to respond almost immediately with the most appropriate answer.
How did you keep motivated to stay alive?
The goal is to allow people to experience history in a way that feels more personal and natural, so it creates a psychological bond as if they were listening to the survivors in real life.
Having the opportunity to engage in a conversation, or as close as you can get to a conversation with an individual from that period, it's a real way to build a psychological bond to the subject, to build a deeper understanding and awareness, not just of what had happened, but of your own responsibilities today when you're encountering moments that echo the past.
That will do it for us this week from Denver. Hope you can join us next week. Until then, I'm Chris Stewart, and this is The Race.